Hey, how's it going? Oh, I see you're in a bad situation. This happens. Sometimes you go into your battle not prepared, you brought the wrong gun, or maybe not enough healing items. So I see you're in a bit of a pickle there. Trapped even. It'd be scary. Not sure how many of them could be around that dark corner. And now, without any help, you must get out of there by yourself. I just might have the option to save your life. Something that could turn the tide. At least in this situation it can. Don't worry. Just listen for a few minutes. We'll use the Flamer. Yes, the Flamer. A rather odd choice. But for close quarter combat, there's very few that can actually match its potential and firepower. In close combat, keyword. But nonetheless, we'll look over this weapon, and you'll see that it is beneficial to your current situation. So the Flamer. It's been in Fallout for quite a while. Since at least Fallout 3, I believe, yes. But it's a flamethrower. Anyone can see that by looking at it. So flamethrower, as you all know, it's close quarters, it has a lot of DPS, but the damage is up and down across different titles. In Fallout 3, it was actually a pretty decent weapon, and they introduced the Inferno weapon from the DLC Broken Steel. I think that was what it was called, but I don't really care much to look at it. So, taking this down to a fire range, which in real life would be a bad idea. Yeah, it's a flamethrower. I don't even think I need to do this, but I only did this to show you the reload cycle, which can be a little long, but no matter. Moving on from that, we'll go on to the upgrade table, and as before, I do have my heavy gunner perk maxed out, so the maximum damage of value will be shown. Now, with customizing the Flamer, we got a moderate amount of choices, but there's some customization here. It's not like the minigun. First up, the tank. Just upgrade the napalm. But doing this, the weapon gets considerably a lot heavier. Goes from 16 ball points a pound to 23. That's quite a jump. This thing was just manageable with 16, but now it's quite heavy. Now the barrel. This is important. Longer barrel, it says it has a greater reach, but to be honest, I didn't notice the difference. Such a small difference it was. For the sake of adding those 2 pounds of weight, I opted for standard, because the long barrel didn't do anything. Nothing enough to make a great change. Now, the propellant is simply the size of our canister. Now, every time we upgrade this thing gets a lot heavier, but we get more ammo in there. So, turning into a huge propellant, we got an extra 5 pounds of weight. So again, it's a bit of a more tactical choice of how you want this weapon to weigh and how functional you want it to be. Now the nozzle. Nozzle is a bit important. Now, for the compression and the vaporization, you can see a lot more damage, but the range is just simply butchered. Like, you get at least 7 meters of shot range with the original barrel. These ones, the compression takes it down to like 3, and the vaporization takes it around the 2 to 1. I'm not even kidding. Literally a point-blank weapon. You might as well just cook your enemy's insides and shove it down their mouth. But for this reason, I opted for a standard nozzle, even though it's weaker. Because trying to close the gap between an enemy like that is painful. So that's why standard nozzle. Okay, so we took our basic Flamer here. Pretty hefty as it is. And we gave it a few upgrades, but you should see it and notice we dramatically increased its weight. A lot. It is now a heavy weapon, which is probably its biggest negative impact. This weapon's very heavy. But no matter. I don't need to take it down the shooting range, but I will show you something. Despite its pretty much damage and projectile being the same, the reloading speed is the same, despite it saying it's longer. So I want to keep a pointer on that. Now in battle, it's a flamethrower. Your enemies will die quickly. Against raiders, or any humans for that matter, it's excellent. Even against their chain guns. Very good. Very simple to use. Very little aiming also. And even in dynamic situations, it has at least a medium range. It's pretty much right on the edge of short combat, going on the very edge to short to medium. But it's very little problem closing that gap and then setting your enemies aflame. Most enemies stagger if they do survive the first few seconds. So I took it up a notch and started to use it against super mutants. Against them is modern results. Most super mutants are very susceptible to it, but when you get to more heavy toned guys, they do tend to survive it a little bit longer. But still, you have a good crowd control of this weapon. You easily transition from short to range. And when you, like I said, when you go to bigger opponents like this Butcher, you're not really getting much results. You can do a lot better for how much flavorful you're using. Next, I use it on a Mirelurk. Just see if I can cook my meat before I salvage it. This is a bad idea. This Mirelurk is so resistant against this flamer, it was a waste of ammo. And going on from that, I decided to take it against some synths, out of curiosity. Surprisingly, it worked pretty good. Not too much different from the super mutants. I expect this to be rather ineffective. But even against a legendary synth seeker, it did do an adequate job for it being a legendary. But again, there's some problems. Mainly, it's the range of the flamer is the biggest issue working against me on this particular battle. At this point, I had to give up using it because I'm not going to bark trying to close that gap, and I swapped weapons. Now, against some robots, I noticed that even though these robots aren't very powerful, I wanted to test it anyway, and you can see it cuts right through them. I think this will work at all against robots, but in fact it does, which is nice. So it's more effective against machines than I thought it would initially be. Now, no sentry bots, couldn't find one for this video. I went to all the usual locations, but didn't find one. Now, for the sake of argument, I will show you what a vaporization nozzle does. It pretty much butchers this range of this weapon. So short it's almost useless. 2 meters of range it gives you, so you lose your original 5 to 7. Yeah, not a good idea. But anyway, let's look at some pros and cons. So, pros. We got excellent damage for close quarter, large magazine when upgraded, and it's pretty awesome. For cons, we got lack of range, for first and foremost. It's heavy, and its ammo is quite actually scarce, since enemies don't naturally carry this. And as the Flamer. Flamer's still a good, excellent close quarter battle weapon, but don't use it in an open field. Preferably use it indoors, even though it sounds like a bad idea in real life. So there you have it, the Flamer. Excellent weapon for your situation. Now you don't have to be scared anymore, because you're the scariest thing in that hallway. Anything else is just cannon fodder and burning fuel. But no matter. Thanks for watching this showcase, and I'll see you next time, and tune in for the next showcase I'll have going soon.